We might as well start because Lord knows it's not going to get any better.
Oh, it's not.
Right now.
Yeah, we're already talking about butt games.
Yep. Who's loudly watching television in the background? I'm just curious.
I'm playing Borderlands. I'll turn it down.
Yeah, you will.
It's not even that loud.
Something was loudly happening.
Yeah, I don't know. I can hear Troy and Tyrene talking to their fans.
That was not what was happening at that point of the game at all.
I mean, I'm sure it was at some point.
It's still what he heard. Oh, okay. There's the signal, everyone. Shut
it's
up.
Recess time.
Yeah, shut up. Everyone begin to shut up. And we will start off.
Everyone begin to shut up.
Yeah.
Start your shutting up process.
Yep. Shout out to short-lived show AP Bio, unappreciated in its time. Everyone begin to shut up. And welcome to the Week 10 edition of Running Out the Clock. I'm your friend, Joseph Craven. We are joined by Crambles Johnson, who's doing a weird hand sign that I didn't enjoy. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, he's a crip.
I was flashing the number 10 for Week 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that a thing that people do?
It is a thing.
In Virginia? That Wahoo's do in Virginia?
Yeah. It is a thing that the professional wrestler known as Sean Spears does.
Gray just left.
It's a thing some people do.
Gray was over your Wahoo nonsense, Chandler.
We got Keith Harkins, who is representing a bye week, according to his nameplate here on our live stream, which, by the way, if you're unaware that we record live, we do that on YouTube on Sunday evenings. So, hey,
we're
Keith.
Here, everybody.
Yeah. And Gray's here. He left, and then he came back. Oh, thanks, Keith. That was good. Family-friendly stream here. That's
going to have to edit that one out.
Yeah, I'm going to put a dog bark over your middle finger, I guess.
Yeah, what does a picture of a dog bark look like?
Just a real anger. No, it's just going to be a picture of DMX.
It's just DMX,
Since the dog bark is a DMX thing, it's just going to be a picture.
It's just DMX. It's a gif of like DMX dancing.
Yeah. So anyway, and hello, Gray. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I left because I could hear Chandler and Keith, but I couldn't hear nothing that you were saying. So I was hoping that leaving and coming back
seems important
would resolve the issue, and it seems like it has. So
all right.
I'm glad I can hear everybody.
I mean, to be fair, nothing I was saying was important.
Never is.
Oh, I beg to differ.
Yeah. Nah. Anyway, so it is now Week 10. We have put Week 9 behind us. Childish things such as Week 9 are now behind us, and we are
9 in the books.
And we are here to discuss everything Week 10 and on. Week 10, a week that some of the big name programs aren't messing with Week 10. They ain't doing it. We're missing some Alabama this week. We're missing some LSU this week. But we do have Georgia and Florida.
Ooh.
Yeah. So there's some sensual tense matchup right there. Georgia and Florida. Just bear with me on this one.
It's the world's largest outdoor party where no drinking whatsoever occurs anymore.
Yeah, no one. So for like the longest time, when they said the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, I thought they meant like cocktail wieners. Yeah, I was like, this is really weird. They just sit around eating little tiny barbecue cocktail wieners.
Cocktail wieners, I fully believe, one of the most underrated party snacks in the 100%. World.
Yep.
Everyone, real quick, starting with Chandler. Give me your most underrated party snack. Go, Chandler.
Pretzels.
Okay, just like any kind of pretzels.
Any kind, but specifically various seasoned flavored pretzels.
I can get behind that. Keith.
The world needs more jalapeno poppers.
That's true. That's true. I feel like jalapeno poppers get a good amount of recognition, but still deserve more. Gray, do you have one? You are lost in thought, my man.
I was lost in thought, but this is easy. It's the Craven family quick nachos.
Yes. God,
elaborate, please.
For years, the go-to like football, especially Super Bowl. Oh wait, I'm sorry. I think I'm legally supposed to say the big game. I don't think I'm allowed to say the Super Bowl. Was to shred some cheddar and Monterey Jack on some Tostitos and throw that in the microwave and just make some quick nachos like that. It's just always been a favorite treat.
Wait, is there any other nachos? Because that's exactly that's not exactly what I do. I literally just get pre-shredded Mexican blend cheese from Kroger.
You see, there's the difference. Mine's made with love.
Yep.
Actually, what I've started doing recently is Ellie and I will turn it into a full meal by cooking up some seasoned chicken, seasoned in the Keith Harkins special Allegro marinade, which is Allegro marinade is heaven.
Praise the Lord, pass the ammunition.
cook that
good.
up, cook it up, dice the chicken, throw it on top of an entire cookie sheet of nachos with the cheese on it, and then throw some like pepperoncinis and jalapenos, and then it becomes a full meal of party nachos. So that's been like...
I'm coming to your house next nacho night.
Yeah.
We should do that Thursday. BT dubs.
We will. All right.
Spooky nachos.
Spooky nachos. All right, week 10. Before we go any further, of course, we have to begin our actual football conversation the way that we always begin our football conversation.
Do we really have to start talking about football, though?
Yes.
Well, no, we're not really
here.
We're not really talking about football yet. We're just talking about Purdue.
It's
Shout out to Purdue.
Purdue was running a little late today, but
they're here. You set your watch by the time Purdue runs to Northeast Tennessee.
Oh man!
Speaking of that, Ole Miss just signed to play Purdue in like 2034.
Yeah, like a bunch of schools just signed playing contracts for when the people who were born today are old enough to play football for them.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. But no, we're not actually
quarterback
talking.
Judson Rowland.
I forgot that you've already committed your son to play quarterback at Purdue.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
And then he's going to transfer to LSU.
Next Drew Brees, baby.
So, no, we're not actually talking about real football. We're just talking about the Noles. Florida State got themselves a victory over what is appearing to be a pretty bad Syracuse team. So, any thoughts on this, gentlemen?
Oops.
And that'll end our talking about the Noles segment.
Q's definitely not in the house.
No. Oh, my God.
Nope.
Oh, my God. Q's not in the house. Oh, man. All right. The other way that we always tend to start off our episodes is to give some credit where we feel like credit is due and maybe is not being given enough. We've already talked about party snacks. So I guess we'll talk about it in the world of sports now as well. Does anyone have any nominees that they would like to mention?
I don't know his name, but that Auburn defensive lineman who got up, looked to the sideline, and then just fell down and pretended to be hurt. He is the hero that we both need and deserve right now. And there is not an ounce of sarcasm or mockery in that. It was amazing. I'm so happy I saw it. And
just got up, kind of casually walked a little bit to his right,
going
to the sideline, and was like, "Well,"
and was like, "Oh, I'm hurt." Oh, it was awesome. And Gary Danielson was beside himself. So
perfect. Anytime he can get pissed off about something is a win for everybody.
I don't remember what Gary Danielson said.
He was probably mad.
I mean, yeah.
I enjoy that happening against LSU in particular because I feel like LSU has been notorious about either that happening to them or doing it themselves to slow down games over the past few years. I remember there were a lot of LSU fans being just livid at Texas earlier in the year.
That was when it was really bad.
Yeah, because Texas was going real bad with it. But that's right, horns down. Keith, how about you? You got anyone?
I just got a 15-yard penalty.
Mm-hmm. It'll be enforced on the kickoff, though.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Yeah, Ryan Helinski for South Carolina had himself a really good day when nobody else on that team did, as they got absolutely mauled by Tennessee.
Yeah,
which is a really tough thing to say.
Yeah,
so, good for him and nobody else.
He's going to grow into a heck of a quarterback.
He is.
Yep.
He is.
Yep.
I was going to say he probably deserves more credit for this entire season than he's really going to get. especially because as of now, South Carolina is not shaping up to be a team that's warranting a huge amount of discussion and not warranting any real discussion tonight as we record either. So, Gray, you have anyone in the wide world of sports that you want to give some of a shout out to?
Yeah, shout out to Latavius Murray, running back for the Saints. Teddy Bridgewater got a lot of credit for filling in for Drew Brees, obviously, the past few weeks. But Latavius Murray has shown out in relief of Alvin Kamara, accounting for a big chunk of the high-powered Saints offense the past few weeks. He's been a really nice addition to that team. So shout out Latavius Murray.
Yep. I fully agree with you on that one. And I don't think you can give enough credit to, as a complete side note, to the Saints in general, and especially for like the coaching staff and Sean Payton for handling what could have easily collapsed the season when Drew Brees went out for several weeks. So
yeah, Sean Payton is a certifiable wizard.
He just is. There's no other way around it. So, all right. Well, that was nice. Let's ruin the whole mood by talking about the Southeastern Conference.
Boo!
Yeah.
All right.
Speaking, though, of ruining the mood, we do need to pause for a moment and say a few words about a lost member of the conference. It's always hard to talk about someone that we've lost early, maybe gone before their time, someone that we even really barely knew. But as evidence from this past week, as we've all seen, the University of Missouri has passed away after being utterly destroyed by Kentucky at prestigious Kroger Field. And gentlemen, we would be remiss on the podcast if we did not pause for a moment to talk about some of the good times, sing a song that reminds us of the better times, get knocked down and get back up again, concerning the University of Missouri and the Tigers and the short time that they were with us here in the conference. A team that arrived, surprised the SEC East for a few years, and now sadly has left us at a young age. I'll open the floor here. If anyone would like to share a few thoughts about our fallen comrades in Columbia, Missouri. We'll start with you, Chandler, if you would like to share anything.
Well, the one thing that that Missouri always said was, we'll be singing when we're winning.
Yeah.
And there's no singing anymore.
Yeah.
So don't cry for me, next door neighbor. And I will drink a whiskey drink and a vodka drink. I'll drink a lager drink and I'll drink a cider drink. And we will sing the songs that remind us of the good times. And we'll sing the songs that remind us of the better times.
Oh, Danny boy.
I'm sorry.
God, that's rough.
It hits. It hits hard. Keith, would you like to share anything?
It's always a sad moment when a new life comes into this world and shows such promise only to be snuffed out. It's tough, but they didn't belong here anyway. So I'm glad they're gone.
Not a real SEC team. Gray, would you like to share some thoughts about the Missouri Tigers?
I mean, I will say there is nothing to be ashamed of, Missouri. There is no shame to be had by letting new Heisman frontrunner quarterback Lynn Bowden Jr. absolutely destroy you like that. He's going to do that to a lot of folks the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Hold your heads up high. You showed out to be a pretty decent little SEC East team there for a while. But Kentucky's the king now. and they're going to do that to some more folks before the end of the year. So, au
They
revoir.
are. They are.
Can we cue up some Sarah McLachlan in memory?
We will. We will. This is a prestigious program, of course, giving us such professional talents as the underappreciated Alden Smith, the up and coming Drew Lock, Coney Ely, Jeremy Macklin, and of course, the true GOAT of them all, quarterback Blaine Gabbert. Missouri, you will be missed. This segment in memory, the Missouri Tigers, 2012 to 2019. All right, so anyway, screw them. Let's talk about some other stuff.
Also, Brad Smith in like NCAA 2005 was unbelievable. He was unstoppable.
I don't remember that far back. I'll be honest with you.
I remember certain players, and Brad Smith, Missouri quarterback, was, I think he wanted to be a wide receiver for the Jets for a few years, but he was awesome.
He was Big 12 Brad Smith from Missouri.
Yeah, it was Big 12. It was Big 12, but
it was right. Doesn't really count. I mean, half the guys I mentioned, I think, were still Big 12. All right, so this past weekend, there were, I don't know, there was really just kind of the one really interesting game between LSU and Auburn. The final score was a 3-point difference, I believe. If I remember correctly, Auburn kind of scored late to kind of draw that close and everything. But it ended up being a close game. I know I, for one, did not expect it to be. I thought that LSU would be able to handle it pretty well. I know a few other people I talked to who felt the same way. I don't recall what you guys happened to say on the podcast, if we all kind of were in that understanding or what. But I personally remember what I said, and I was just like, yeah, LSU's going to win by 40. So, I look great. But I guess the ultimate question when it comes to these two teams, I mean, LSU still walks out with the victory. So they're still kind of in the driver's seat in terms of what they do for the rest of the season. But does this mean that, like, Auburn's an okay team and maybe we need to give them more credit? That's kind of a question that comes to mind here, is that I've at least been very critical of Auburn, of being maybe a little overblown this season. But, they hung with a team that has looked like possibly the best team in the country so far. So that's kind of the question I want to open up here to the ROTC floor, and just kind of say, all right, guys, now that game is behind us, what do we think about LSU and Auburn as teams? I mean, do we still feel like this is indicative of anything bigger for either squad, or is this just kind of a score line we take and kind of, say, okay, that's how it was, doesn't mean much, and keep moving, taking on a week-to-week basis? I want to hear your thoughts. Chandler, if you want to start us off again, since you are in the driver's seat here in terms of positioning on the Foursquare video call that we have recording on.
Yeah, I think Auburn is, to quote Dennis Green, who I thought they were. They have a really good defense. Their offense is very limited, and with Boobie Whitlow being hurt, their offense is incredibly limited.
Mm-hmm.
But that defense,
shockingly limited.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. And I was talking to some people during the game. It's like, man, Joey Gatewood must be just absolutely terrible if he can't even crack, get some snaps to see what might be able to work. Because, I mean, Bo Nix, you see flashes with Nix. You see things that say, okay, this guy's going to be pretty good one day. But you also kind of end up right now seeing that he's not there yet. And you've got to, I mean, I feel like if you're Gus, you got to get something, give something a chance. And I mean, I don't see anything from them that says that they're fixing to just bottom out and be absolutely terrible. And I don't see anything from them that says they're going to be able to score on Georgia or keep pace with Alabama offensively. So they kind of are the same that I thought they were. I mean, that the defense may be a little better than I thought it was because they were able to limit LSU in a way that nobody else has done this year. But, I mean, in the end, they still couldn't score enough points. So,
are you saying that in the end it doesn't even matter?
I'm saying that they tried so hard and they got so far, but in the end, didn't even matter.
Well, I mean, did we see anything? So you're kind of saying that Auburn did pretty well, but it was still kind of the Auburn team that you felt like you had seen already, like more defensive based, all that sort of thing. Okay. I mean, well, did we see anything out of LSU? I mean, Keith, did you see anything necessarily that you felt like changes your perception of LSU and how they've done so far this year and how well they've been playing so far this year?
They ran almost 90 plays.
Is that good or bad? Chandler, can you get our interns to run those numbers for us?
Ask me again in just a second. They're crunching them right now.
Okay, thank you.
Spoiler alert, that's really good.
Okay, all right.
I just want to say the interns have not confirmed that yet, so
so we'll take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Wait. No, they said it's really good. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to make sure.
Early reports pointing towards good. So, if you get a quarterback like Joe Burrow and that core wide receivers 90 plays to do something with, he's going to make it count. And I know he had kind of a rough start to the game, but closed really strong. And that's just what's going to happen. LSU's good. LSU's really good. And we talked about that a lot in this podcast. And so I don't think this game really showed us anything that we didn't already know. Their defense is good enough to hold a minute if their offense struggles any, but their offense is not going to struggle for an entire game. They're going to get it going at some point. And so, Auburn's kind of going to be the same issue a little bit. We know that their front seven is insanely good and that they're going to be good enough to keep them in games. And their offensive production, if you look at the score line throughout this entire game, it's really confusing because it's how are they keeping up with a team like LSU? And it's, their defense literally shut down LSU's offense for a half.
Mm-hmm.
They still scored 10 points. But LSU really didn't start to kind of wake up until the fourth quarter.
How huge was that interception right before the half that Auburn's in field goal range and they try to do what they did against Oregon and LSU was just no, that's okay.
Yeah, no, we're you know what, we're cool guys. We don't need to let you score here.
I'll say this, Keith, kind of in line with what you're saying, that the thing that impressed me about LSU, maybe for the first time this season, was that when they really had to run the ball to kill the clock, and just had to run the ball to make some plays. Clyde Edwards-Helaire made some big plays. I mean, he was there in some ways that I feel like maybe we haven't seen him there.
Yeah. He had himself a good game.
Yeah. He played extremely well, and if LSU can find that balance, I mean, I don't think it matters what defense lines up across from them because, Keith, like you said, they ran 90 plays, and eventually the defense that runs 90 plays is going to get tired,
right?
And they're going to be able to wear a lot of people out that way, and that's the best defense they have left on their schedule.
Right. I was eating with the in-laws today at lunch, who are a whole lot of LSU fans, and so we started kind of talking about it, and it's exactly what I mentioned. I was Alabama has the rep, but this year, nothing has told me that Alabama's defense is better than Auburn's. Mm-hmm. And we know that Auburn's front seven is way better than Bama's this year.
It definitely doesn't look like it, that's for sure.
Yeah, and so I don't think it's any coincidence that LSU's offense woke up whenever Clyde Hilaire started gashing the Auburn defense for 7, 9, 10 yards per run towards the end of the third quarter.
Yeah, I was just looking up, so I was trying to remember who all like LSU loses this year, and naturally I accidentally loaded up the LSU basketball roster. That's not going to help me out at all. Because like Burrow is a senior. And even if he wasn't a senior, you had to think that like if he were a junior, he'd be out of here anyway.
He's gone.
If Edwards Hilaire kind of continues having a decent year, because he's low key averaging 6 yards a carry.
Mm-hmm.
And 6.5 yards per reception whenever he gets a pass as well. If he decides he wants to bail out and try to make it in the NFL as well, because, it might be a good year for a running back to do that. I wonder, Gray, I want to ask you maybe long-term. This is something that me, Chandler, and Keith discussed a little bit last week, but I want to hear your thoughts on it now since you're here, and be quite honest, you're smarter than most of us are here in the podcast. So, like long term, if we're talking about an LSU team that's losing the quarterback that has been a focal point of so much of their success, but returns a lot of options. I mean, Edwards Hilaire could come back for a senior year, no problem. I don't know if he's got much draft hype right now. They've got a bunch of receivers that are all like sophomores, so they'll be back for another year most likely. They're going to have to replace the quarterback, and they've been hot on the recruiting trail for quarterback in there because it doesn't look like Miles Brennan's the guy. And Auburn on the other side is going to be losing like that entire defense. And the youth that they have is kind of questionable on offense. Is Bo Nix going to develop into the type of quarterback that Auburn's going to need, that sort of thing? So, Gray, I guess just long-term, if we're looking long-term, which of these programs you think maybe is going to be able to continue the success they're having? Like, will Auburn or LSU fall off next year due to all the personnel they lose? Do you think that do you think that any success they have is, repeatable? What are your thoughts when it comes to looking at these programs in the future that lies ahead?
Yeah, I haven't really thought about that, but just kind of my initial gut reaction. I'm leaning more towards LSU because I think, obviously, Joe Burrow has been far and away the biggest surprise of the year so far in the league. I mean, he's probably most people's front runner for the Heisman right now. I don't think there's any question now. The game
still feels unnatural to say it.
It does feel weird.
He's been great, but I think a lot of that is in large part, due to the system that they've finally been able to find. It's been a long road for the Bayou Bengals to kind of catch up with the times. But now that they've found it, and the way that they do recruit, they've always had really, really good athletes. They've had good skill guys on the outside, but haven't been able to fully utilize them to the fullest extent. I think now just the system allows that to take place. I mean, obviously their receiving core is great too. But the way that LSU defenses tend to be, the way that they recruit, this new scheme that they're running, points to LSU to have more continued success offensively and continue their kind of legacy of, defensive powerhouses. Auburn just, I can never get a read on Auburn year to year. They could be a, 8-4 type team, or they could, run the table. You never know with them. And Bo Nix is still kind of, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be okay, or turn out to be, the hype was worthwhile. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So,
because another thing about Auburn is that you never know, like, when they're going to run the table with a defensive back playing as quarterback,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, that's the weird thing about Auburn is that, like, at this point in time, it had always been LSU under Les Miles was like the wild, unpredictable team, and now that's Auburn under Gus.
Yep, they'll pull out wins. You don't really know how.
Yeah. So
when
weird.
you look at the scoreboard at the end of the game. Yeah.
And Gray, you just mentioned something about, like, you mentioned LSU having to, like, adapt to the times and them actually doing it and everything. I don't know if I could think of. Can you think of a program that has adapted as thoroughly and quickly as they have? Because essentially they implemented this entire offensive scheme in like 2 years. And this particular season, of course, is the year that they went out and hired Joe Brady. So, like, Joe Brady wasn't even at LSU last season, if I remember correctly. I think this is like his first year to help out with that offense. But this is essentially 2 seasons in which they've completely changed their offensive identity. I don't know if I've ever seen a program do that as thoroughly as they have this year.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that I'm just going to be honest. I saw 0 seconds of college football this past weekend. I just had a really, 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 really busy weekend. I tried to keep
You don't really need to watch it.
It's just like, fair enough. But just from what you guys have said, running 90 plays and then being able to just chew the clock with Edwards-Helaire at the end, if they have the capability to do that as well, proving that they can win in multiple ways. So far, they've just been slinging the ball all over the place and just outscoring teams early enough to where they could kind of coast almost. If they show that ability against an Auburn defense, man, that's scary. I don't think there's another team in the country that can really do that. Maybe Ohio State, but. Man, that's pretty scary for teams like Ohio State and whoever ends up coming out of the East having to play them. So
it makes the because like while it makes the upcoming LSU and Alabama matchup interesting, it more so makes it interesting from a not necessarily this should be a really good game sort of standpoint, because who knows, like Alabama's defense, which, as we pointed out, I forget which one of you, Chandler or Keith, said it, but there's nothing necessarily in Alabama's defense that has looked any better than Auburn's defense, right? Like Auburn's defense has looked better. So if that matchup is not necessarily like a good game, it still will be an interesting one to keep an eye on, simply because it's going to be maybe the changing of the guard, in the West.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to point out that I just forgot to mention Alabama. When I was mentioning top teams in the country, I'm not sure that's ever happened before.
It just kind of needs to be asked. Like, I know that there's always the critique of like Alabama having a weak schedule and everything, but like, has Alabama just low key been a kind of like boring team this year in general?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
right. Because like they haven't like the whole schedule thing is like real this year. Like,
yeah,
LSU's already played 2 top 10 teams. Auburn's already played 2 top 10 teams, maybe 3 now, and are going to play Georgia. Like there's 3 or 4 SEC schools that have already played, really good teams, and Alabama is just kind of like Arkansas. We're going to play like 4 FCS teams for no reason. Like, they didn't start the schedule until like last week.
Yeah.
And I think that's been reflected in the poll that came out today, that LSU was number 1 this week, because at this point, And this is the thing, like you say, okay, Alabama's schedule's weak, whatever. And it has been. Like, what's their marquee win right now? I don't think they have one. But the thing is, it's still their schedule
is Tennessee now.
Yeah, well,
apparently.
Their schedule is just kind of backloaded in that they'll get to play Auburn, they'll get to play LSU. They'll most likely if they win if they win the LSU game, they most likely will end up facing either Georgia or Florida. So like their games are coming, but at this point in the season, I think LSU has proven that they are the best team in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And Alabama's going to get that chance to prove it in a couple of weeks. But right now, in week 9, I don't think it's particularly disputable. And I don't know that I would put them just kind of based on what Ohio State has done and a couple of other things going on. Like Alabama might be number 3 right now.
Yeah, Ohio State's really impressive
with that star SEC quarterback. I will say this though about Alabama: 2 things. LSU hasn't, with the exception of maybe Texas, they haven't played an offense like Alabama, like one that's potentially equally as explosive as the LSU offense. And Tua is going to have, basically 3 weeks to have gotten healthy for this game.
Yeah.
Second thing is, we all know how scary good Nick Saban is when he has more than a week to prepare for somebody. So the fact that, I know, LSU also has a bye week, but Nick Saban is just about as close as you can get to automatic on opening games of the year and first bowl game or first playoff game or whatever. They just execute really well. So
yeah.
But I do think there is evidence in the last few seasons that statistically those things are not as big of a deal if the quality of opponent that they're taking on is either close to them in talent or is just kind of coming in, nothing. Because that was the narrative in 14 and 15, especially in 15 when Ole Miss went to Tuscaloosa. Everybody's like, well, Saban never loses back to back. This is automatic for him. All this kind of stuff, and they lost again. And I think, and I don't think anything that's happening with Alabama right now has to do with Saban. I think it has more to do with the fact that they've lost 2 or 3 defensive starters,
right?
Seasoned veteran guys who
to the NFL. Yeah.
Well,
which doesn't have to do with Saban because he was pissed
this season. No, they lost these guys. Dylan Moses.
Like
Dylan Moses absolutely would be making a difference in Alabama's reputation this year.
Yeah.
And so it's not on Saban at all. It's just he's going into this game against a higher powered LSU offense than we've maybe ever seen, and B, he's got he's a little shorthanded going into the game as well. So, all that stuff's true, and they'll undoubtedly be well prepared, but there are also things that are kind of beyond the control there that isn't normally the case.
Yep,
that's very true. That's very true. And I do want to say I kind of said this is a bit of a part of why I said this was a bit of a boring Alabama team is that I was kind of thinking this is not a team that necessarily stood out as having a super interesting standout player necessarily. In the past, it's been interesting to watch Derrick Henry play because, someone that large should not be that fast, that sort of thing. And then, even when Tua first arrived, he was fascinating to watch because you're like, okay, what can this kid actually do? But now it's okay, we've pretty much seen it all with him. But I do want to correct myself because I don't want to overlook Jerry Jeudy.
Right.
Who is one of the best college football wide receivers that I think I've seen in a while. Just a complete package type of wide receiver, one that rivals the Alabama receivers we've had in recent years. Going back through Amari Cooper and Calvin Ridley, and all the way back to Julio Jones. Jeudy does everything as well, if not better, than a lot of those guys. So. don't want to overlook him. Give him some credit. If I'm going to be bad mouthing the Tide, give him a little bit of credit too.
Yeah,
it's funny. I make a lot of Saints references, but when I watch Jerry Jeudy play, he has a lot of the same tendencies that like a Michael Thomas would have. He kind of brings that target him 13 times, he'll make 10 catches, and he'll rack up 120 yards and 2 touchdowns, and you're kind of like, well, when did that happen? I don't really remember that.
I mean,
but
he does so many things well. Like, I feel like some of those guys I just mentioned, like Ridley and all, are kind of, they either are like really sure-handed, great like receivers, like make incredible catches, or like they're good burners and they're just, real speedy like that. He kind of just does everything well with that position, which you're right is exactly what Michael Thomas does with the Saints. He's not a burner, but he's going to get some yards after catch. He's going to get past defenders. He's going to create separation in a lot of clever ways. And yeah, Jeudy does the same thing. So impressive player. All right. Something that we have planned to do for a few weeks now on the podcast, but we keep rambling like fools and running out of time, running out the clock.
There you go.
Inadvertently. But we had a
title card.
A game developed that we were going to do, and we have not done yet. A game that our own Keith Harkins has been hard at work to make a good time for all of us. I'm pretty sure. Maybe not, but Keith, I'm going to just pass the mic over to you and let you lead us in the discussion and the game that you want to lead us in.
Yep. So we got a game here called Triple Threat, and it involves everybody. Gray, where are you going? You can't run away from this. It's inevitable. Get back on my couch.
Yeah.
So it's called Triple Threat, and it's an interesting game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 3 names, and you're going to tell me the most correct thing that those 3 names have in common. So, for example, I would say like, Ron Zook, Steve Spurrier, and Dan Mullen. And yes,
you mean Don Merlins?
Don Merlins, yes. And so like saying college football coaches would be correct, but the most correct thing would be Florida Gator football coaches.
Florida, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So we are going to go in reverse, or no, I guess it will be clockwise for me. So we'll go Gray first, Joseph, then Chandler. Caveat, you will get 10 seconds to come up with the answer. And if you don't have the answer in 10 seconds, any one of you guys can jump in. After the first person dies.
Definitely not death. No.
No.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
We're not ruling it out. We're not ruling it out.
After the first person dies, then the both of you can jump in.
Then you can steal. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
I should have just left the couch and never came back.
Should have.
Bad decision making by Gray. All right. First question. Bo Wallace, Jeffrey Simmons, Gabe Jackson. Bo Wallace, Jeffrey Simmons, Gabe Jackson.
Mississippi University college football standouts.
Correct,
really
but
else.
There is a more narrow option available.
Is this like on me now to try to figure out the more narrow option?
Sure.
Did I follow the rules? I couldn't remember if it stayed with Gray.
Right. So after like 10 seconds, either you or Chandler could jump in. I figured one of you two would probably get it.
Gabe Jackson was the one that stumped me. Man.
were all three recorded either punching or getting punched? Because I know it's true of two of them.
No. Well, I can't say no definitively, but that is not the answer.
I don't know that Gabe Jackson has ever punched someone or been punched on video.
Okay. All right. Time's up. The answer is all three were Connerly Trophy winners.
Oh, the Connerly Trophy. Okay. All right.
Good first question.
That was a great question.
Yeah.
That's what you're working with.
Also, shout out to Gabe Jackson for winning the Connerly as
Right?
anyone listening who all four of us here are Mississippi natives, but anyone listening who is not a Mississippi native, the Connerly Trophy is given to the best player at one of the Mississippi colleges by some sort of group here in the state of Mississippi. So,
but as far as I know, has not been won by a player from Mississippi College.
I don't think so. I'm trying to remember. There was someone. Oh, it was the kid from Millsaps won it one year. He's dead now.
Yeah,
which is super
R.I.P.
sad.
Yeah,
that took a turn.
I'd forgotten about that. Wow.
Yeah. I was gonna go with the guy from Southern that won it not too long ago, but I saw Gabe Jackson up there as an offensive lineman. I was like, ooh, I'm gonna throw this in there.
Nice.
That was good.
Great question, Keith.
Well done. Well done there.
All right.
Give him the biggest love.
All right, Joseph.
Oh, no.
Next question.
Okay.
Dan Mullen,
Mm-hmm.
Tommy Tuberville,
Mm-hmm.
Ed Orgeron.
They've all coached at multiple SEC schools.
Bingo.
That was
I
thought that one was easier than Gray's, though.
Yes, definitely.
Significantly.
Yeah. Still good, but it was much easier.
I was trying to stay away from like the super obvious of like Bear Bryant, but also would have accepted coaches that ruin the lives of Ole Miss fans. Moving on, Chandler.
Oh,
You know what you should have done, actually? You should have snuck Jackie Sherrill in there, considering
That's
Texas
true.
A&M
Yeah,
is now an SEC team.
Ooh,
It
good
wouldn't
Good
really
call.
have been true. So, but
well, I mean, that is SEC history now. So,
it is.
all right, Chandler. Quinn Williams, Montez Sweat, Josh Allen.
I don't even know who Quinn Williams is. First round draft picks? SEC first round draft picks?
Can you be more specific?
Um,
4 seconds.
First round, what is it? NFC East.
The floor is
draft?
open.
They are all 2019 first-round draft picks.
Correct. Quinn Williams, by the way, was the super amazing defensive lineman from
That's
Alabama
right.
last year.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
Mr. Tuscaloosa, former native.
You guys lived in the same city, Chandler.
Yeah, what the heck, bro?
Oh yeah. How about Najee Harris following me on Goodreads now?
Right? Yeah, have we discussed that? We haven't mentioned that on the podcast. Chandler, please tell us more.
Yeah, I just got an email today that said Najee Harris was following me on Goodreads now. That's all. That's it. That's the joke. That's all there is.
That's the joke. That's the whole joke.
So, I am fascinated to see where this goes.
Well, congratulations on your internet fame.
Yeah, man, you're killing it. You're killing it, Crambles.
All right, round 2. By the way, this is only 2 rounds long.
That's perfect. That's the perfect length.
Okay.
Yep. All right, Gray.
I've always said that if something is more than 2 rounds, it doesn't count, which is why I'm a huge fan of the college football playoff.
Yep.
And the
Lines
NBA
up perfectly.
Right.
And boxing matches with Mike Tyson. All right.
If they last longer than 2 seconds, they don't count.
Yeah, they're terrible. All right, Gray. Tim Tebow, Peyton Manning, Johnny Manziel.
I don't know if this. Oh,
Tim Tebow.
Sorry.
Peyton Manning, Johnny Manziel. 5 seconds.
This might be incorrect, but SEC quarterbacks who have finished in the top 5 in Heisman voting multiple years? I don't know.
Correct. I'm going to give it to you. I was just going to say all 3 won Heisman's.
Oh, all 3 won Heisman.
So yeah,
Peyton Manning didn't win a Heisman?
Oh, he didn't?
No.
Yeah.
Charles Woodson won it.
That's what stumped me. Sorry.
Well, then, yes, you got it. That's definitely the answer that I had on my sheet of paper.
Because what's his face won it in '98.
Charles Woodson.
Woodson, yeah.
That's why it stumped me, because defensive players don't ever win Heisman's.
Yeah, nor should they be allowed to. I say
they shouldn't even be on the ballot. Honestly,
they shouldn't be allowed to play football.
They shouldn't count.
Cancel them.
What was the name of the Tennessee quarterback that won the Heisman? Shoot. He beat Mississippi State in the SEC championship game.
He didn't win the Heisman, but it was T. Martin.
T. Martin.
Oh, T. Martin. What am I? Okay, I'm just confusing myself now. Continue on with the game, guys.
Probably Brent Schaefer.
That was it.
Brent Schaefer. All right. Question number 5 to Joseph.
All right.
Will Grier.
Okay.
Jalen Hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Kyler Murray.
That is SEC quarterbacks who transferred to other schools?
Yes, I will allow it. And with the caveat of and started.
SEC transfers that transferred to Big 12 schools.
I think Chandler beat me on that one.
Yeah,
I think Chandler beat me on that one.
That's the more narrow one. I totally forgot, as I always do, that West Virginia is a Big 12 school.
Yep.
Okay,
right.
so yeah, Chandler definitely got me on
I'm going to award
that
that to Chandler just for the interest of making it even all the way across the board.
Also for being right.
That's true. All right, Chandler. For the win. High drama in the first ever ROTC game. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Philip Fulmer, John Gruden, Nick Saban.
All coaches that Tennessee fans think will coach there.
Yes. It's amazing that it worked out that Chandler was actually the last person to get that question. What I wrote down was future UT coaches. So Chandler wins.
Oh man, that was so fitting.
That was the greatest.
That was perfect
ending. Couldn't ask for a better ending to the game. Oh man, that was a great game.
That was a good game.
It was
wonderful.
Good.
I'm not much of like a games person most of the time. That was a good one. That was a real good one. Oh, on that note, it is time for us to move on to our predictions segment here on the podcast. As always, we predict every SEC matchup. We predict whoever Florida State is playing this week, which this week is an interesting one because it's a rivalry. And then we predict one random matchup. And I think I've picked out a pretty good rivalry matchup to predict this week.
I like it.
I'm excited to get to it. Keith is always our guy who handles the spreads. Before we get into that, I want to throw out one little tidbit that I did not realize. And I just remembered I had this tab open on my internet browser. But did you guys know that Joe Burrow has a really, really deep Mississippi connection?
No.
I thought you were going to say that you thought he had a really good butt.
I mean, it's not bad. It looked like a pretty good butt.
As far as butts go, it's up there.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was a negative butt. No, so all right. In the 1940s, one of his grandmothers set a Mississippi State high school record with an 82-point game in basketball.
Yes, he talked about that on Game Day last week, didn't he? Or 2 weeks ago or something.
Did he?
Yeah.
I don't watch Game Day. I'm preferring to watch actual sports during the time that Game Day's on. His one of his grandfathers, on his paternal grandfather, was a Mississippi State basketball player, and his uncle, John Burrow, played football at Ole Miss. So there you
Nice.
go. Deep Mississippi connections from Joe Burrow. And apparently the main reason that he ended up in where was he? He was born in Ohio, right? Yeah. No, he was born in Iowa and then played high school ball in Ohio. It was because his father was coaching in Ames, Iowa on the staff at Iowa State. So.
Seems like everybody has some sort of weird connection to like Mississippi. Like when we all found out that Jermaine Jones was born in Meridian.
Right. Or the fact that comedian Fred Armisen was born in Hattiesburg.
Right.
Or the fact which is a puzzler. Or the fact that Russell Wilson's grandfather.
Chabert.
Yeah, well, yeah, we all know that one because we have we honor Lacey Chabert every year with Lacey Chabert Day. But Russell Wilson's grandfather was like the former athletic director at Jackson State University. You know, just everyone's got random Mississippi sports connections. It's the weirdest thing. All right, so let's jump into the predictions here. Quick recap of last week. There were very few games to predict, and everyone did.
It was brutal.
Everyone did fairly poorly, except for me, who did awesome in predictions. Comparatively speaking, I got 2 more correct than you guys did. So as of right now, and what's also important is that we forgot to get predictions from Rowe or Gray. So, sorry, guys. Didn't include you in this.
It's okay. You're not last.
Yeah. So, but everything's still tight enough. Everyone's in the mid-60s as far as correct predictions so far on the season that it works out. So let's jump into it. The first one up is one of 2 random non-conference games this late in the season. The University of Texas San Antonio travels to College Station to play Texas A&M. Keith, give us the spread.
Texas A&M is a 38-point favorite.
There you go.
Which seems about right.
I get the feeling that this is probably a unanimous Texas A&M pick. Is that correct, everyone?
It is, yes.
Trap game, San Antonio.
He called it. So
covers. They're not going to win.
Man, it's crazy though because Frank Wilson, the head coach at UTSA, a few years ago was like one of the hot names that was kind of up and coming college football coaches, and it has not gone well for him the last 2 years.
Just like a lot of the hot up and coming names from 2 years ago.
Yeah, as it turns out.
Yeah, who knew that the Matt Luke experiment wasn't going to work?
No comment. Yeah, not great there. I don't know necessarily if I trust A&M to be the type of team that covers a 38-point spread.
Yeah, no.
That's what I was thinking as well.
But they're certainly the type of team to beat UTSA. So I'd be shocked if that turned out any other way. The University of Alabama, Birmingham, because I'm all about spelling out the entire names of the universities.
Yeah.
Travels to Knoxville to play against Tennessee. Chandler, are you going to go to this game?
No.
All right.
Disappointing.
Keith, what's the spread?
Mediocre.
Mediocre.
Tennessee is a 10-point favorite.
Only 10?
Hey, man,
Really?
UAB football's back, baby.
Yeah, they're back and are decent.
What's their record right now?
I don't know. Let's find out.
That's
I'll
irrelevant.
Google it. UAB football right now. They're second in the CUSA West.
They're 6-1.
6-1.
Damn.
Yeah. They have, on the season so far, they have beaten Alabama State, Akron, South Alabama, lost to Western Kentucky by a touchdown, then beat Rice, beat the aforementioned University of Texas San Antonio, and recently beat Old Dominion. So there you go.
I think Tennessee has figured something out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think that they're going to lose to UAB.
Keith?
I sort of hope they do.
It would be interesting.
Yeah, no. My mind's telling me yes.
But your body?
But my body, yeah. Chaos Theory saying go Blazers, but Tennessee wins this.
Gray, what you got?
Yeah. I got Tennessee. Yeah, like Chandler said, they're figuring something out over there. Got to hand it to them. I think Tennessee doesn't. They will cover.
Yeah, the one thing I still don't like about Tennessee, and I feel like I need to mention this, is the fact that I just don't like it when a team like rotates quarterbacks like they do. I'm just not a huge fan of that. But I don't know if that will. I don't know if that will actually play a factor into this. But I'm going to pick the upset. I'm going to go UAB wins this one. And I guess just give you guys an opportunity to catch back up to me in the predictions because that's probably not going to happen. They are riding pretty high. But it just seems like Tennessee still seems like the type of team that will do randomly well and then completely blow it for no reason. And this seems like a great opportunity for them to do that. So
you're not wrong about that.
Yeah. So I'm going to go UAB. That's going to be my pick. Stepping into conference play, got SEC East matchup between Vanderbilt and South Carolina. Keith, give us the numbers.
Still scared to say anything about Vandy. USC, South Carolina is a 14.5-point favorite.
All right. Chandler, start us off.
I'm like Keith. I'm scared to say it. And just out of fear, I'm going to say Vandy. I'm not afraid. Derek Mason, South Carolina's going to
win. Keith?
Yeah, South Carolina.
I have you down, by the way, Gray, in the spreadsheet simply as New Row. So, New Row, who you got?
Miss New Row.
The Vanderbilt men. They take it down.
When did Rowe turn into Stephen A? When did Rowe turn into Stephen A? I love it.
Stay off the weed.
Well, let me tell you, the Vanderbilt men, they're going to get the W. Mark it.
I thought he was doing a Derek Mason bit, but
yeah, that sounded
kind of was.
Yeah.
And
it just kind of it turned. Wait, so are you picking Vanderbilt?
I'm picking Vanderbilt.
Okay, I just had to make sure. I, on principle, only pick Vanderbilt once a year, and that game has passed. So I got to go South Carolina on this one. We're gonna jump over to the West now. Mississippi State travels out to Arkansas. Keith, what's the word?
Bird.
Okay, bird. You heard it first here, ladies and gentlemen. The bird. The bird is the word.
State is a 7.5-point favorite in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
And I do want to point out, it is not an 11 a.m. kickoff.
So they should play
but will
decently.
It be 40 degrees and raining?
It very well might be. Who knows? Chandler, start us off here.
Freezing acid rain.
I just assume that it's always 40 degrees and raining in Fayetteville.
And I just always assume that Mississippi State's going to get an 11 a.m. kickoff. So
right. I don't like this. I don't like this game at all. I mean, State's going to win. I mean, Arkansas, like it wouldn't completely shock me if this was kind of the game that they managed the game that Arkansas managed to kind of put together and win. But they're just so bad. Yeah, State's gonna win.
Keith?
Yeah, give me State.
Gray?
State's going to win. It won't be pretty. And I think the kicker is going to be that Lee Autry and Willie Gay and those guys are going to play and kind of slow down the one kind of highlight that Arkansas has in their ground game at times. So give me the Dogs. But it'll be nasty and gross and you're going to want to turn your TV off.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter how good either team is. That's just how Mississippi State versus Arkansas is.
Yeah.
True.
That's just how it always is. They're just I say they in that Arkansas. Arkansas is just an annoying team for Mississippi State to have to go up against. But yeah, looks like the type of game that Moorhead will play Lee Autry and Willie Gay and the suspended players in. The Mississippi State offense has been clicking the past few weeks. Took them a little bit to wake up last weekend against Texas A&M, but I see, no reason necessarily that the offense would not be a little bit more prepared since it's not an 11 a.m. kickoff. And as I said last week, that is the kiss of death for the Bulldogs more than anything else this season. So yeah, I'm picking Mississippi State as well. Ole Miss off a bye week has to travel to the Plains, go up against Auburn. Keith, what's the word there?
Auburn is a 18.5-point favorite.
All right.
Oh, man.
Chandler immediately cracked a grin.
Chandler, what you got for us?
I mean, we know exactly. Like, I'll tell you exactly how this is going to go. That Ole Miss, like at the end of the first quarter, it's going to be like 13-7 Auburn, and everybody's going to be like, man, okay, like we might be putting it together. And Jarian Ely is going to have like 3 touches for 64 yards and a touchdown, and it's like the defense is going to be playing well. And then in the whole second quarter, Rich Rodriguez is going to do nothing but call quarterback runs up the middle with an injured John Rice Plumlee, and we will go into halftime down 34-7. Jarian Ely will not have a single touch in the second quarter, and I will be crying in the fetal position at halftime. But then I'll get happy and remember that there will be an Ole Miss basketball game on Monday. So Auburn by 1 million.
All right, Keith.
I believe all of that except for the part where we think that Ely is going to have 64 yards on 3 touches. Auburn front 7 is stupid good.
Ely does that to everyone.
Yes.
And then Rich Rodriguez is like, oh, we're not going to give you the ball anymore.
Yeah. So we're going to skip all that and jump straight to Auburn up by like 30.
Auburn by 1 million.
Gray, you got the same thoughts there?
Yeah. War Eagle on the Plains. Getting it done.
Wart Eagle.
Wart Eagle.
More like butt eagle.
EGOT. War EGOT.
Oh, man. Yeah. Auburn's offense is going to try to be like opportunistic against teams that, aren't one of the top teams in the conference. So this could be the moment that Auburn does score a bunch of points again, just to try to make their stats look better.
Yep.
Should be an Auburn victory. Let's move on to the next prediction. And the next prediction is the final SEC matchup, which is the big matchup of the weekend.
Cocktail party.
The big cocktail wiener party down there in the steaming hot city of Jacksonville. They still play it in Jacksonville? I didn't check that.
Yes, and they actually just extended the agreement for like another 3 years.
Nice. So Jacksonville, Florida, home of Leonard Skinnard. Georgia and Florida meet up this weekend. Keith, what's the line?
Can't wait till College Game Day brings in Georgia-Florida line or Florida-Georgia line or whatever it's called.
God, yeah.
They do that like every year.
Every time?
So the line started this morning at Georgia as a 7-point favorite, and it is already down to 3.5 points for Georgia.
So no one actually knows what it'll look like by the time game time comes around.
Correct, because Georgia has looked terrible their last 2 games, and Florida hasn't looked much better, but still better.
So I guess really we should be placing bets on whether this will even be a watchable game.
Correct. I fully expect there to be 6 turnovers in the first half combined.
Oh, man. All right, Chandler, start us off. Who you got in this one?
Well, this game is known as the world's largest outdoor cocktail party.
We have guest picker Barack Obama.
And they call it that because at the end of it, you're going to need a drink.
Oh.
And just because I don't like Dan Mullen, I'm going with the dogs.
All right, we got our first UGA prediction. Keith.
But really, I think it's going to be Florida, but I'm picking UGA.
Okay. Keith.
Gotta embrace the bias in me. Going Gators.
Embrace the bias. Never look back from the bias, Keith.
Lynn bias.
Never look back from Lynn bias. What a man.
Oh,
He's
man.
coming for you.
Lenny.
City.
Oh, Lenny B. All right. Gray.
Man, this is a tough one.
Yeah, it is.
I think it's just going to come down to one big play made by one team. And just in my head, I just see DeAndre Swift breaking a big one late in the fourth quarter. And I don't know. I just got a gut feeling for Georgia.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, if Florida can get back like literally their top 3 defensive players for next week, then I think they've got a really good chance. But if like CJ Henderson and Jonathan Grenard and Jabari Zuniga are all out, then it's probably not going to be a good game for them.
Yeah, that's the big question mark for sure. That might be one of the reasons why the spread has been bouncing around like it has been. I've always been kind of under the understanding that Dan Mullen tends to win games that he's supposed to win and, lose games he's not supposed to win. And that's kind of been his thing. I don't know if that has changed yet since he's been at Florida and he has more like resources at his disposal. But I think that this is a matchup that I think this is a matchup where Georgia should probably still be considered the better team, regardless of how they've looked over the past few weeks. So because of that, I think that Georgia, quote unquote, should win this game. And that is going to be how it plays out. So I'm going to pick Georgia as well. But this is a hard one to predict. This is a very hard one to predict.
Yeah.
Speaking of hard ones to predict, let's talk about a game no one wants to watch. And that, of course, is Miami and Florida State.
Wide right.
This is it, man. This is so much hype for 2 unwatchable programs. Miami and Florida State. What's the line, Keith?
Florida State is a 5.5-point favorite.
All right, there we go. Chandler, start us off with your prediction, please, sir.
Do I have to?
Technically, yes, but you don't have to enjoy it.
I don't think either team is any good, but
Nope.
I think that the rules of American football suggest that one team has to win. And this is where, this is maybe the first time that I've ever thought, you know what, maybe soccer gets this right, and it should end in a tie.
Mm-hmm.
But since I can't do that, is the game in Tallahassee or is it in Miami?
It is in Tallahassee.
It's in the worst city in the world.
So that doesn't clarify.
Yeah, it really doesn't.
It's in Baghdad.
I mean, it can't be in the worst city in the world because Georgia and Florida are playing there this weekend.
Well, it's like 100 miles southeast or southwest of there.
I don't know. Florida State. I don't know.
Keith.
Yeah, I was looking up their last games because, my mind was telling me, well, Miami has looked worse and worse while Florida State has looked a little bit better. But then I look at their record, and they're both just, objectively terrible. However, Florida State did hang it up on Syracuse this past weekend. So maybe that gives them a nice little bump in confidence after Miami hung on for their life against Pitt.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go Florida State.
All right.
Miami misses a game-winning field goal.
Right.
While we know that's never happened before. While we know that Syracuse's season did not go the way that they've wanted it to so far, let us never forget that Syracuse First Liberty gave us the greatest college football image of the season, and that's Dino Babers waving at Hugh Freeze, laying in a hospital bed, just giving him the thumbs up.
Yep.
Gosh.
It was so good.
And then there is that edit of him waving at the Iowa Children's Hospital.
Oh my God, that was the worst. I mean, the internet both won and lost at the same time.
Right.
That's right.
And
Pretty much all the internet is at this point. Just a bunch of W's combined as L's.
All right, Gray, who's your prediction?
man, I gotta agree. Give me Willie T winning by 3 over Manny D. Give me the Knowles.
Wow, that was amazing.
That was incredible, and
this is the game of destiny.
I'm pretty much gonna pick Florida State just because of that sick rhyme.
Yeah.
So Florida State.
Appreciate that.
Yep. And then finally, the random matchup that we predict on the week. I'm excited about this one. It's the battle for the old wagon wheel. The 65th meeting between
Rucker and Old Crow Medicine Show.
All right, Chandler's been removed from the stream.
Also, didn't hear half of what he said, so
He was referencing the song that no one enjoys. I'm just kidding. I love Darius Rucker. All right, BYU and Utah State going head-to-head for the 65th time, dating all the way back to 1948. At least that's when the wagon wheel was introduced. BYU and Utah State, two programs that, let's see, over the past 4 years have split the competition evenly. BYU winning twice in a row in 15 and 16, Utah State winning the last 2 years. Just a really even matchup in general. BYU has an 11-game lead in the rivalry, and of course there are 3 ties listed in there as well. So there you go. But BYU, Utah State, the old wagon wheel. Tell me, Keith, what are we looking at from a spread?
Utah State is a 5-point favorite.
Ooh.
High drama.
That was my spooky voice, by the way, right then. Ooh, because it's Halloween week. So just want to throw that out there. All right, Utah State favorite in this matchup for the old wagon wheel. Chandler, start us off. Who you got? Darius Rucker or Old Crow?
Old Crow, of course. But in this game, I'm going to go with I was going to say the Utes, but that's the wrong Utah school. I'm
They're
going
the
to go
Aggies.
the Aggies.
All right.
I can't hear anything. Can y'all guys hear me?
I
Yeah.
can hear you.
Yes.
I vaguely
Were you asking
remember.
me what my prediction was?
No.
Oh,
Come
okay.
on, Gray.
I vaguely remember watching a BYU game like at the very beginning of the season and thinking that they look terrible, and I can't shake that image from my head. So
Okay.
Utah.
All right, Keith.
Utah State really showed me a lot when they lost to LSU 42-6.
That shouldn't be that funny to me, but it is.
And they bounced back and beat Nevada 36-10. And then lost to Air Force 31-7. So if there's anything that I know about math, it's that they're going to beat
It's made up, fake.
BYU by like 25 points this week.
Okay,
It's
so
just science. Give me the Cowboys.
sure. That's their mascot. All right. Gray, it is now officially your turn to predict.
Gray's going.
Man,
Gray.
I'm here.
Gray is here, guys. Don't lie to me. He was always here. I definitely didn't forget to add him back in. It's your turn to predict BYU or Utah State.
I know Utah State, they're getting a lot of hate, but it's going to be great when they score that touchdown late and win by 7 points.
This guy is killing it tonight.
Gray was featured on Kanye's latest album.
Jesus is king, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to be the lone dissenter here and go with BYU
Mormons.
as my prediction. Yeah, going with the Mormon pick here.
I'm a big fan.
What?
Nothing.
Okay.
He said something about Wahoos again.
Okay. Yeah, I'm down with that. Yeah, I'm gonna go with BYU. Just feel like this is a prime opportunity for BYU to right the ship. If I remember correctly, what little bit I do know about Brigham Young University this year is that they've used like 100 different quarterbacks. So
who were over the age of 30?
As far as I know.
Yeah, they're Mormon. You can't go to college till you're 28.
Yeah, let's not forget, if we reference the Saints one more time, let's talk about 37-year-old second-year player Taysom Hill, who scored a touchdown. But yeah, I'm going to go with BYU in this matchup, guys. I'm going to go with BYU, and I'm going to go with UAB, and I'm not going to look back in anger over either of those predictions.
Nor should you.
Sally can wait because it's too late.
So don't look back in anger.
It's never too late.
That's my Oasis impression. By the way,
it kind of sounds like if Green Day were covering Oasis.
That would be the worst possible musical combination. And I say that being someone that has really enjoyed the music of Oasis.
Oh, What's the Story of Morning Glory is one of my 5 favorite albums ever. They're
one of the best albums of the 90s, no question. I heard a good story not long ago where either Liam or Noel Gallagher, I don't remember which one, and I don't care which one said it, but in an interview he said, the second album you make is always the best album because by then you, A, have enough experience and resources to actually put into making a good album because your first album you're making on no budget. And so the second album, has that going for it, but you aren't rich enough yet where you've completely lost touch with your fans. Because by the third album, you've got like private jets and a pet monkey and stuff, and you can't relate to anyone. And so the interviewer asked him, "Oh, did you have a pet monkey?" And because he hates his brother so much, he said, "Yes." And now he's touring the world playing all of my songs.
I knew that there was going to be a brother hate joke there somewhere.
Had to be. So, shout out to the Gallaghers as we wrap up this episode. Do want to end on a little bit of a serious note here. It's if you're an NFL fan, you've seen the news, of course, but as I mentioned earlier, we're all Mississippi natives, so do want to give a brief shout out to a Mississippi sports legend, Willie Brown, who passed away on October 21st from Yazoo City, Mississippi. Of course, was part of the big-time Grambling State programs back in the 60s down in Louisiana. I say down in Louisiana. Grambling is North Louisiana, so over in Louisiana. The big-time Grambling programs and then became an Oakland Raiders legend in the NFL, but originally from Mississippi and from all accounts just a quality dude and a good ambassador for sports in general. So rest in peace, Willie. Thank you for doing what you did. Gentlemen, thank you for showing up on this podcast here. And listener, thank you for tuning in. If you want to catch any of our live recording sessions, you can find us on YouTube on Sunday evenings. Those YouTube links are over on our social media accounts. If you go to our Twitter or our Facebook page, you can find your way over to YouTube as well. I'm your friend Joseph Craven. For Keith Harkins, for Gray Barnes / Roe Hunter, and for Crambles Johnson, I want to say thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on ROTC.